game types. I'm extremely excited to see Cognate on a control game type actually, because Cognate were they did very well when they had control of their composition. When they were defending, when they were attacking, and when they knew what they're doing, they were fine. But it was when things got a little bit too fast-paced for them, when they had to kind of change their compositions, that's when they struggled. So it's going to be... I'm curious to see whether they can deal well with these high, fast-paced situations.
So it begins. We're into the grand final of Group B. We're going to decide which of these teams is going to be moving on to Comic-Con. Cognate, they're the underdogs. They're the ones that have really got a lot to prove in this series. And Project, you know, they've got a lot of pride at stake at this point. They're the favorite. They're the one that should be going through. But here we go. Chips are already so close to his ultimate, but just gets shut down immediately. Fusion's on this front line will get finished off as well. It's looking good right now for Project as they start to finish off these players. Cognate, though, trying to do his best just to trade this. We saw Cognate and Smex go crazy last series as a duo, but not quite able to do the same this time. There's a nice kill onto Tomzy, but Cognate will get shut down in the end.
Yeah, I thought that Cognate were actually going to do pretty well because Lauliet got such an important hook onto Chipsa as Genji, but Project just responded well. They grouped up, they targeted efficiently, and Cognate went down one by one very slowly. I'm glad Cognate didn't panic, use his Dragon Blade there. Instead, he's going to save it now as Graviton Surge does come in, and everyone is just going to dash in here as Chipsa also gets his Dragon Strike, and he's swiping like crazy, taking down Specs, Paradox, and Smex. Cognate goes down as well, and this should be the team wipe.
Yeah, and that is the definition of that blender. You know, it was the composition that I would argue it's the first. It's the original composition, the original wombo combo that we saw in Overwatch back in beta. You just see Graviton Surge and Dragon Blade, and that was what everyone was raving about. And even now, after what 6-7 patches, you still see that combo because it is just so powerful. Here's a Graviton Surge. They lock up the lineup of Project. This is the opportunity for Cognate. They've got to make this happen. Fusion's going to be jumping on in as well. Sev actually somehow manages to kill himself. I'm not even sure where he died. He must have jumped off the side somewhere, but this should be the capture point going the way of Cognate now. They've managed to wipe out Project, and now they're onto the map.
Now, what Project did really well last week when we did see a glimpse of them on control is they got very aggressive and they didn't allow their opposition to push out of spawn when they were in this situation. But now, obviously, Cognate have this control, so it's going to be how Project respond. Cognate have a lot of ultimates to work with, and on the side of Project, there is none.
Absolutely, and bear in mind, Cognate, they're the ones that just won that last team fight. They used that Graviton Surge, they used the Nano Boost as well, but that was it, and they still have 4 ultimates moving forward, so they're actually in a fantastic position to defend, and if they can use these ultimates sparingly, maybe they can turn it into more. Fantastic shield came out from Smex there just to protect Lauliet, but the ultimates come on through. Cognate will use that Dragon Blade, and look at him slice and dice this team. Absolute destruction. And there we have it. Team Project completely wiped out. However, all 5 ultimates used from Cognate. Only Nano Boost not used there.
Yeah, Nano Boost is going to be close for Paradox as well. Who's she going to use it on, though? That's the big question. You don't have that Reaper target. You don't have a Reinhardt target. So perhaps, yeah, you're going to see it on the Winston. You can see Winston going ham and just jumping in and using his gun efficiently while he is Nano Boosted. But now Project, they are trying to push in here, and Cognate have actually had 3 players go down. So this is a good start from Project.
Absolutely, Project looking good in this fight. Smex on Spikeline. Chipset just getting roasted alive by the taser right now, but we'll be able to get away with his life. Fusions has to leap on away. Nice little shield comes out from Smex. Once again, Smex has been on point with these shields to protect his tanks at this point, and Cognate, they're somehow winning out this fight regardless. I thought it was going to go the way of Project, but it's just not the case. And Cognate, they're really bringing it to Project right now. They were the underdogs, but it just doesn't matter. Look at the whole hog denying that Nano Boost. Project nowhere to be seen. Cognate grabs himself so many eliminations in that fight. Chipsa can't even get near right now. The Roadhog blocking his way, being a literal roadblock there. And well, 3 points until overtime. Cognate are looking good. Here's a Nano Boost.
Yeah, Nano Boost does come down, and actually you see the Graviton Surge as well as Chipsa's just trying to stay alive. Sound Barrier comes into effect as well as 5 members, 6 are taken down from Project. So Cognate will go 1-0 up in this control game type, and what a start it was for them. And I tell you what, I'm going to give a lot of credit to that man Lauliet on the Roadhog. That whole hog just completely taking out Winston when he was Nano boosted up. That made a huge difference, and who would have thought Project are going to be on the back foot after Cognate looked all but down and out after last week's performance, and now They look like they could end up heading towards Comic-Con. Who knows? It's very early doors, but they definitely look great.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we can call it just yet. We are 1 point up on a control map, but certainly a very, very good performance coming out from Cognate, and I think a reassuring performance for Cognate fans at this point, because, you know, they were coming in as the underdogs this week, and right now they're looking to fulfill the shoes of M&M Gaming and kind of be that Cinderella story moving on to Comic-Con. They're 1-0 up on Lijiang Tower. Let's see if they can turn it into more. Loliet going to be on the Tracer to start things off, getting a good bit of damage down. Wacko in trouble, already forced to use his Rake Form. Not a ability that you really want to use lightly here as Chipser jumps on in. Smex will find one onto Christopher to start things off though, and Chipser having to just dive away to safety. Will get finished off in the end. Fusion's not letting him get away with that one. Cognate in the driver's seat right now, but it's going to be Wacko on the point. They need to actually start contesting this on. Spez goes down as well, but it's going to be all about Fusions and Knockney wiping them out. This will be the first point going the way of Cognate.
Interesting, because last week Project, they played Garden on Lijiang Tower here, and they didn't actually use Ana. They didn't have the Reaper. They've gone for it this time, and it doesn't look like it's working yet. And considering we didn't see any Reaper in that first point, I'm surprised that we do see the switch out now. Perhaps it is what Project need though, as Dragon Strike will come in, but Knockney's just slicing everything, but he can't seem to find anyone at the moment because Wacko's gone into Wraith Form to avoid him.
Absolutely, but it doesn't matter. The rest of his team has managed to clean up. Sev, the last man remaining, will get finished off as well. Well, we're seeing a fantastic performance out of Cognate right now. They're doing a stellar job in this series. Paradox has that Transcendence up, which, to be honest, it's kind of the similar situation to what a Sound Barrier is in a team fight. When you see someone like a Wacko go in with that Death Blossom, it's pretty much just going to negate the damage coming on through. Chipset on the back line already, but down to 80 HP, 35 remaining. Sound Barrier will keep him alive, though, at this point. I want to see how Wacko uses that Death Blossom. It's going to be so crucial in this fight. Paradox already using that Transcendence. Spence doesn't have Sound Barrier. This could be the opportunity right now for Project, but with that Graviton Surge and a Pulse Bomb to boot, Loliet grabs himself a quad, and that is going to be B-site completely locked down for Cognate. 63 points on the board. They're looking for a flawless map at this rate.
And every time there's something influential happening from Cognate, it's coming from Loliet. This is why we've been seeing Tracer used so much in the pro scene during control game times, because that Pulse Bomb plus the Xayah Graviton Surge can be absolutely huge, as Smex is now going ham now with this Graviton, but actually the Graviton Surge doesn't come in, my mistake, but Primal Rage comes out of Winston now as he pushes in, but the rest of his teammates are already down, as now Team Project have to wipe again, and despite the nano boost coming out of Darius, it wasn't enough for Project, and Cognate are just 10% away from going 2-0 up in this control game.
I'm trying to work out whether Christopher jumped off on purpose there, or whether he just did it as a mistake, but it was just lucky timing that the rest of his team was doing it at the same time. It didn't look like it was on purpose, but here we go. Cognate now still on the defense. Overtime coming into play, but they're starting to get the kills already. Sev is about to go down. Darius, the last man remaining. He'll get the overtime, he'll get the contestation, but it's not enough. Cognate 2-0 up now on Lijiang Tower. They're looking for the first map in incredibly convincing fashion. This is fantastic coming out from our underdogs.
And this is the time where Project now start to question themselves, and they start to get a little bit nervous, and they're thinking, oh god, we are 2-0 down against the underdogs. We're expected to win here, so now they really need to pull themselves together. They need to go for what they're used to. I feel like Project are trying... it looks like they're being quite experimentative with their compositions. It's not what we saw from them last week whatsoever. So I'd like to see them go back to what they were doing as we now move into the control center of Lijiang Tower.
Look at this composition from Project as well. They are basically saying with this, with a Genji and a Tracer, they're basically saying, you have no backline, we are going to kill it. But we see a similar thing coming out from Cognate, and in fact, completely mirrored compositions. This is going to be an interesting one. When you've got compositions completely matched like this, it's basically a game of skill. It's who can position better, who is going to be the ones on the backline. So far, it's Chipser and Wacko, that dynamic duo, doing a fantastic job. But Tomsy will get finished off by Fusions, but it's not enough all in all. Cognate will get wiped out to start off this point. Cognate, they don't manage to get this one to start things off. Project, they kick off this third point right, and to be honest, it's a much needed start.
It is a much needed start, and I think their problem was they were trying to use that Reaper last game, but Reaper was just getting shut out by the Tracer, by the Genji, and he really wasn't able to survive and get those Death Blossoms off. So I like the project have switched it up a bit, as we do see Dragon Strike available for Chipsa, but he's just trying to swipe onto anything he can, but Zaya's just getting away from him. But now several members of Project will take down Cognate. Great deflect there as well from Chipsa, doing incredible work with Genji.
Chipsa the god right there, doing some serious stuff from the shurikens, the headshot, as well as the auto cancel with his left shift. Fantastic stuff just to finish off Lawlia in the end. Oh, now it's all about Project's defense here. Can they hold on to this capture point? Pulse Bomb going to be available for Wacko. That can easily turn a fight, and with Sev having that Graviton Surge available, that combo is going to be devastating if they can land it. Let's see how this one's going to pan out, though. I don't think they even need to use it because Paradox is down. Sped's incredibly low. Fusions jumps on forward, but with Transcendence coming on through, that's easily enough to win a team fight. They don't have to use any of those damage cooldowns. And now Sound Barrier will be available for the next one. That's basically their other version of Transcendence.
And this is where Projects are at their best. When the opposition are on the back foot, when they can really take the game to them, they can push up, they can get aggressive, and they just don't allow them. And now Lawlia has to try and get behind and try and just help his team escape this deadlock that they're in. It's actually Graviton Surge does come down. I don't see a Pulse Bomb coming out just yet. It might have come down, but it didn't actually get any kills. 3 members of Cognate do take down Project, so now they have the advantage moving in. They should be able to take this point.
They absolutely should. Fantastic Transcendence came out from Paradox right there, and it kept his team alive. He has gone down in the end, but he's done his work right now. This is going to be the point captured in the end for Cognate. 86 on the board for Project. All they need to do is one really convincing team fight, and they'll take this point. But Cognate, they're the ones in control right now. They're the ones in charge, and they only need this point to win the match.
To be fair, last time Cognate took control after being behind, they ended up winning, but now Project are pushing in. They've got most of this control. Both Graviton Surge will come down, but the Pulse Bomb isn't going to get any kills just yet, Munchables.
Yeah, great stuff from Sev there, using his shield just to protect himself and keep him and his teammate alive. But here we go, the cleanup coming through from Cognate, not Colgate. There's 4 for them. Wacko and Chipsa, the last 2 remaining. Chipsa does grab 1. But all in all, will get shut down in the end. It's Cognate staying in control. I've got to say, Cognate really rolls off of the tongue, especially if you say Colgate instead.
Yeah, it does indeed. And we now see the ultimates from Cognate with Knockney. He has his Dragon Blade, sorry. And on the other side of Project, Wacko now has that Pulse Bomb. I would say Dragon Strike is a lot more influential than Pulse Bomb, but Transcendence is available for Darius as well, as they are going to push in and they need to win a team fight soon, because slowly and surely Cognate is starting to catch up here.
Yeah, here we go. The Transcendence will easily be enough to take this fight for the likes of Cognate. 60 points on the board, a clean sweep in that fight. Wacko did manage to take out Lawlia, but he's on Tracer, so, you know, he'll be back in the fight in no time regardless. And Cognate, they reset once again. They're still in control of the point, just 16 points down now. So even if they lose this fight, they'll be just about neck and neck in terms of points. And here we go, Project with it all to play for. They've got the ultimates available. 7 chips, so it's all on your shoulders right now. There's the Dragon Blade. They find 2 fights, 2 kills to start off this fight. The Dragon Blade should be enough to finish this one off. Lawlia has his Pulse Bomb. It's all on Lawlia and Knockney just to contest at this stage, but they cannot do it. They were the first ones to respawn, I think, actually. And well, 90 points on the board. We've got to see just a rushed contestation here out of Cognate if they want to fight for this point. Graviton Surge will ruin everything for Cognate, though, and that is a wipe coming out from Project. They are going to be able to take this point to start things off. Lawlia trying to contest, just trying to do what he can, but I don't think he's got it in the barrel. He's not got enough in the tank at this stage. Doesn't have the damage, and Chips are happy to finish him off. Overtime will tick on through in the end, and it's Project getting themselves a point finally.
Yeah, an important one on the board for Project. And we saw Speds, he dropped the sound barrier, but it still wasn't enough when they were sucked into that Graviton Surge. They still went down to Project, and it was just that early start that was too much for Cognate. Project got too much of a lead, and despite the kind of mid-game control from Cognate, they just couldn't hold on for long enough. Project just bided their time, decided when they want to pick the right moment, allowed Cognate to waste a few ultimates, and then that's when they hit them hard. That's when they came in with their Graviton Surge, and that's when Cognate did go down. And we will now go back out to Garden, and we will see, to Night Market, sorry, and see how Project can respond after getting one on the board.
Absolutely, Project with it all to play for at this stage. They've got to even things up. It's certainly going to be a challenge. And originally, we saw this capture point and we saw this stalemate to start things off, just blasting each other across the map, trying to get up their ultimate charges before their opponents. And so far, even Stevens on the board. Chipser on the side of Project, just looking to try and find that Dragon Blade, pushing very aggressively here. There's no health pack available for him, but he's still doing okay in terms of HP. But here we go, Cognate going to be the one grabbing the kills to kick things off. The point is now active, but the rest of Cognate not being so lucky. Project running out of members though. Sev will get hooked up, does shield himself for a bit here, and Cognate won't be able to finish off that kill just yet. Needs to be careful and will get shut down. It looks like Project have just about won out this start. Smex is going to be there alongside Paradox, but they won't last much longer. And all in all, I think Project have got control.
Yeah, once again, Cognate getting the early kills, but they just not able to push on from them. Project always responding well when that does happen. Sev has that Graviton Surge ready as well, so they can make sure they can initiate a team fight nice and quickly, whilst Cognate may not be expecting it, because it is quick. Paradox also has her Nano Boost ready, as now the Graviton Surge will come in, and you see the whole of Cognate get sucked in. Loliot goes down first. Sev cleans up Smex and Paradox, and Project will win yet another team fight here.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that we don't see anyone like Speds or Cognate just panicking and using their ultimate in that fight. Just hold on to it. Just allow that fight to go. You know, you're not going to come back from that kind of situation unless you've got a Mercy, and I think it's safe to say that you don't. So, Cognate holding on to those ultimates, but it's going to be 4 versus 4 when it comes to who has those abilities available. And let's see whether it's going to be enough. Nano Boost comes on through from Paradox. I didn't see who that was on, but Dragon Blade's coming out from both teams as well. Project looking good in this fight so far. The Transcendent's going to keep everyone healthy, but there's a Graviton Surge, and a few kills come out for Cognate immediately. Christopher on this backline trying to shut down the healers if he can, but I don't think he's going to be so lucky. The rest of the team there to peel and support their supports. Christopher jumps on in, but gets shut down eventually. And it's Cognate. They're the ones in control now. 60% in favour of Project, but Cognate in the driving seat.
Yeah, Cognate now have the chance to just really take control of this map, and we saw it before on Night Market. When they were able to get control, they responded well, and they just got aggressive, and Project didn't know how to respond. Project may have learned from that situation now, as Cognate is pushing in, as Genji manages to take down Darius, so that's important to take him down, because Darius obviously has one of the support characters, won't be able to heal anyone up, as a nice hook comes out from Lulia, and Graviton Surge comes in once again.
Indeed, it does. Chips are going to be able to grab one onto Smex, and now he looks toward Lawlia. He's going to struggle to take out these tanks, but I think he needs to find better targets, and Paradox will be the perfect one for him. Anna is definitely something he's going to be happy to go for. Chips down to 65, but will get away with his life. It's been an incredibly even fight, but with the sound barrier, that should tip the balance. Project are going to be the ones with the advantage, and that's Speds to go down to finish this one off. Cognate, last time we were on Night Market, you said they started 60 points down, they managed to regain control, and they managed to snowball that lead. This time, not so lucky. Project back in control once again with 30 points to the win.
Yeah, even though Cognate pushed in and got aggressive and got that early kill, it just, again, Project responding well despite being in that 5v6 situation. I can't help but feel their targeting is a little bit better, as Dragon Strike comes in from Cognate. He takes down Tomzy and Darius, moves in, tries to take down the Zarya as well. He does eventually get that Sev. That's 3 down now for Project, and he takes out Chipser as well, slicing and dicing everything in his way like he's at a sushi bar. This guy is crazy.
Yeah, Cognate, absolutely fantastic on that Genji. I've had the honour of being boosted by that in solo queue myself. I know how terrifying it can be on that ninja. And well, they're back in the priority position, I suppose. Once again, they're the ones in control of this capture point. 60 points on the board. There's a Graviton Surge. It's going to be about Cognate once again landing these slices and dices, getting the resets, and we'll be able to continue to swipe away. But all in all, does get shut down in the end. Wacko and Darius there to finish him off, but 70 points now on the board for Cognate. They still have this point in their favour. This could well be the last team fight of the game. At this rate, if Project can grab this one, they might just be able to finish things off. It's going to be tricky, but Smek's actually incredibly low. Needs some help from the rest of his team. Does actually somehow survive this one with a Graviton Surge that only catches Lawliet there. Pulse Bomb actually has to come out, but it's 1-for-1 traded so far. Smek's still surviving in this situation somehow, but Team Project maybe not so lucky on this one. Chipser goes down as well as Christopher. Wacko is going to drop, and here we go on the point. Just 2 red players here. Sev, he's managed to survive the whole fight, but not any longer. Overtime comes into play. We see the congestion coming out from Tomzy, but it's too little too late. Ladies and gentlemen, Cognate are going to go 1-0 up in this series as they take control of Lijiang Tower.
And I mean, Cognate doing just disgusting stuff with Genji. I love that every time a Graviton Surge came in, Cognate would just sit in the middle of me like, hey, I'm just going to sit between you guys. You're not even looking, you're just concentrating on damage coming outward. And he's just throwing stars at everybody. Quite rightly, Cognate getting play of the game as well, because he's really made the difference for Cognate as that Genji. And I want to shout out to Lolliot as well as the Roadhog. He was getting those hooks and just taking out important members of the opposition.
I've got to point something out about that play of the game as well. This is something that you sometimes see Genji's kind of messing up a little bit. When you get that situation with the Graviton Surge, you've got Dragon Blade, don't just spam shift like outwards, because you end up just losing time getting DPS down. What you want to do is you jump, auto attack, shift down into the ground, turn around, jump, auto attack, shift, and you just do that kind of figure of 8 motion. You stay inside the Graviton Surge and you can just wipe everyone out. So many times in solo queue, I cannot stress this enough. You see your Genji gets out his Dragon Blade, shifts immediately, and then he's 100 meters away from the team fight. Can't actually do anything else. If he doesn't get a kill in the first shift, then, well, he's out of the fight. It's
like
just
this
over.
is like a reoccurring
This
nightmare
is something
for you.
that really, really frustrates me when you don't see them do it right. Make sure you hit it at the ground so you can stay in the fight. That's all I'm going to say anyway.
You heard it, Genji players. Listen to Munchables.
You listening? I'm looking at you. Anyway, back to the series. Cognate now 1-0 up. The underdogs ahead in this battle. It is a best of 5, and it is a weighted best of 5. So if they want to win, they've still got to win 5 maps on the trot at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tall order, and it's the big mountain that they've got to climb.
I will say, not on the trot. They do have a little bit of leeway. Correct myself.
It's going to be a large mountain to climb for them, but it's the perfect way to start, and they are going to feel confident about themselves. And it's also going to go on the other side. Projects are going to start to question themselves, and there's probably, I don't know how these teams work, right? I make assumptions on their communication, and perhaps sometimes teams will bicker at this point. That's all I'm going to say. You might find teams that will argue a little bit. They'll say, why are we losing this game to a team that aren't as good as us? I'm not saying that is what Project are doing. I'm just saying sometimes teams...
That is a common theme.
Yeah, it's a common theme from teams, especially from very good teams as well. It is easy to get frustrated, and that can change your mentality. That can mean that you go into this second game still thinking about that first game, and it can make it very difficult. But we are going to go into the beautiful, the smoky, the London Road.
I don't think beautiful and smoky
it's
in the same sentence.
The smoky city.
Yeah, I think you've kind of really hit a key point there when you mention, like, the better teams often this happens with, because if you're a team that doesn't regularly lose games, I mean, so far Team Project, they came in kind of heralded as favourites of this group. They took 2 series 2-0. They're not used to losing on the big stage. They're not used to losing here on the stream. And, you know, so far, unable to take that first map. Maybe that will come into play, but they do still have a lot of leeway here. The weight's best of 5 in their favour. So they've got breathing room, you know, they've got time. And we saw in Group A, Team Endpoint, they got 3-0'd in the first version of the best of 5. They had the weight of advantage, and then the second best of 5 was a 3-2. Incredibly close between them and M&M. M&M took it in the end, and let's see whether we'll have a similar situation coming out from the likes of Cognate. But here we go. It's going to be Project on the attack to start things off, and Chips are going with the Pharah.
Yeah, and again, it feels like they're just testing things. Last week, they didn't go for this composition at all, and Project were fantastic on King's Row last week, so why aren't they sticking with what they know? It feels like they are just maybe underestimating Cognate, and especially after the performance of Cognate earlier, they deserve a little bit more respect, but Chipsa does get 2 kills. Fusion's in Knockney reply. Fusion's actually getting the kill on Wacko as well, but then we see Sev taking down Smek, so just the Zaya remaining, and Cognate are pushing pretty well, but Project are just being a massive nuisance here, actually, just surviving and not allowing Cognate to get this first point.
All about Darius right now on this attack. He's the one keeping his team alive, and it's been him and Chipsa just floating around this entire battle. Chipsa is on a spree at this stage, doing so much work with these rockets. He's almost got his rocket barrage available, looking to just finish off the supports if he can, but will get melted down in the end by Smex. Used his concussion grenade just to try and finish off the healer there, trying to get himself closer, but if you use your gap closer like that, you will find yourself in a tricky situation. Knockney here on the defense will get finished off by Wacko in the end. Smex goes down, and Cognate are eliminated. It's going to be Project who manage to get the first point.
Yeah, good work from Project. It looked like it was going to swing into the favor of Cognate for a little bit there, but Project just kept coming back from those respawns. Obviously, their respawn is a lot closer than Cognate, so they were able to win that team fight. And that is what happens sometimes when those team fights do get a little bit messy and it goes a little bit back and forth. The team with the closer spawn does end up tending to win. As we see now, Chipser with that rocket barrage ready. He has the Mercy on his back to give him that damage boost as well, so expect him to be flying around behind and trying to pick off some kills with it.
Absolutely. I just want to point out that Project right now have every ultimate available. This is going to be huge. And, well, they're only going to use 2, but it is more than enough. I mean, I didn't even have time to get hyped about that one. Cognate actually comes in with the Death Blossom at the end of the fight. Does get shut down in the end, though. Managed to grab 3 kills for themselves, but Project's still going to be very much in control of the payload.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of now Project just pushing forward and using 2 ultimates at a time, and maybe using the rest as responsive ultimates if Cognate kind of produce anything. We do see Paradox. He has Nano Boost ready. Smex also has his Graviton Surge that might come down. And I've got to say, Graviton Surge has been the key ultimate in every single team fight that we've seen today. And that is why you see Xayah in every single composition right now in the meta.
Absolutely, here we go though, Graviton Surge as well as a Nano Boost coming on through. There's a nice Earth Shatter as Wacko picks up the first 2 kills. Can they turn it into more though? That's the question. Project definitely in the driver's seat as they push this payload on. The fight isn't on the payload and it keeps on moving, but stopped at the checkpoint here. McCree has come into play from Lawler. That is going to be absolutely crucial in this series. Chipser has been raining terror on his opponents here on Farah, but they do not managed to get to the checkpoint just yet. Chips is still just doing what he can, dishing out the damage, but the players from Cognate will slowly but surely run out of time. That is going to be the checkpoint reached in the end.
Yeah, very quick time as well for Project, and now it's panic stations for Cognate. They need to set up a massive wall if they're going to stop Project from getting to this final checkpoint, but we saw it happen in the last game. Cognate were able to do it. They did it very efficiently, actually, very effectively beforehand, as Knockney does charge in. He gets bubbled by the Xayah to keep him alive, so great work from Smex's Xayah using those bubbles really timingly well.
Yeah, I've got to say, Specs has been so on point with the bubbles this entire series. Christopher has his Earth Shatter available, though. This could be a massive fight right now for Project. If they can land a good Earth Shatter, they might just take themselves the map already. We've got Dragon Blade available for Knockney, though. That could be what they need to defend this one. Cognate start things off right. Smex gets 2, but Tom's the answers. And now we're going to see Lawlier looking to clean up, but Darius with a nice res doesn't go down for his trouble. Now Knockney using that Dragon Blade. The sound barrier will negate a lot of that damage, though. And all in all, Project looking fantastic in this fight. Here's a rocket barrage coming out from Chipser, grabbed himself a kill, and here we go. The payload's still going to be contested, but it's definitely looking good for Project. The respawns will continue to filter in from Cognate. They might just be able to hold on. There's the Nano Boost as well as an Earth Shatter. Tomsy goes down. Chipser just desperately trying to support his teammates, but this is going to be Cognate doing a fantastic job. There's a nice sleep dart, but Chipser has to get away. He's not going to be allowed away, though, as Lawlier on the McCree, the hit scan comes into play, and it is going to be Cognate after a very long fight. They hold on. Those
long fights are going to favor Cognate, though, because they are that little bit closer with those respawns, and it's also chewing away at the time that Project have moving forward. And we've seen this before. We saw it in that last game. Cognate can hold when they get to this position, but this man, Wacko Jacko, as Munchables likes to call him, has that Death Blossom ready. No Nano Boost available, but sometimes you don't need it. As Graviton Surge comes in, he pairs up with it, jumps in with that Death Blossom, gets 3, 4th goes down. Project now moving ever closer to putting this game to bed.
And with Darius's ultimate available, I don't see a way that Cognate defend this one unless, to be honest, Project really mess up. They've got to do something wrong at this situation, but Dragon Blade is going to come out in combination with Sound Barrier, manages to finish off Christopher, but Seb will be more than enough to finish off that Genji. But Project, they don't commit to this one. Darius doesn't want to use his ultimate right now, doesn't want to keep pushing on this stage, and they decide to back away.
There'll be one thing Darius is saying to his teammates. He's saying, if you're going to die, die close together. Maybe die on the payload, just so I know so I know where I'm jumping to get that resurrect. But this whole time, Darius is going to be changing his playstyle. He's not going to be wanting to get picked off by anyone on Cognate, so it does become a 5v6 situation in the favor of Cognate, as we will see. Lawless is going to go back, and he's going to change to Mei. This is a good decision from him. I like Mei on this map. It's very good. He's obviously said, look, I don't need to worry about this Pharah anymore. I need to help my team a little bit more.
I like Mei on all maps now. Here we go, Cognate does get taken down. Chips has got a rocket barrage going, and he picks up 3 kills for his trouble as well. Fusion's incredibly low, and Wacko going to be able to finish him off with the Peacekeeper itself. Gets a nice little... Was that a kill with a flashbang coming through there? I'm not sure. I think it was a teammate that got it. But either way, Project, with 1 minute and 40 remaining, they managed to get the payload onto that 3rd position. So good push in the end coming out from them. Saving the ultimates. I think I got a little bit excited on the second to last fight there, saying that there was no way Project could lose it as long as they played it right. Obviously, they decided to back away, hold on to those ultimates, and then go for a more kind of cohesive push following it. But now, it's all about Cognate. They're on the attack, and let's see what they decide to do, what they decide to change up from what we saw out of Project.
And just going back to that defense from Cognate as well, it's strange how they are so good when it gets to that last checkpoint. I know it is a decent choke point, it's easier to defend when you do get there, but I kind of feel if they put the amount of... If they just tried as hard as they do when it gets to that last checkpoint, on the first checkpoint, they might have a better... They might be in a better situation on this map, but going forward, I mean, Cognate will probably stick with what was working for them. We saw them use Ana, Genji, Reaper, Xayah, Reinhardt, and Lucio. And, okay, they're going to switch out. Cognate is going to go for something like Pharah. And maybe because Project just did it and it was relatively successful, they feel like they can replicate that. I feel like they should just stick with their guns and stick with what worked for them earlier. But I guess they may be considering Project probably watched them earlier and maybe expecting that kind of composition. So, like I said, it's expect the unexpected. If Cognate can pull off something that Project aren't going to be expecting, then that might help them. But we do see Cognate now switching back to what they did earlier, and Laureate will go for that Roadhog once again.
Certainly will. He's been doing fantastically on that pick previously, but I've got to say, as much as I like Roadhog as a pick, I think it's fantastic in the right situation. When we know almost for a fact the Project will be running with that Reinhardt, and almost certainly with the Xayah as well. There's not many compositions that you see that don't run Xayah. I don't like the Roadhog in that scenario because there's too much that will just block the hook.
Yeah, it is hard sometimes. Even when you do hook them, the bubble from the Xayah can just punish your shotgun shots. But
and also just denies the hook a lot of the time.
It does. But if you can get that hook, if you can pick off one of those players, then just that hook and getting that kill can win you a team fight. So I'm not against the pick. I think it's a great pick, and Roadhog is fantastic currently.
Here we go, though. Team Project starting things off correctly on the defense, but Cognate is going to find a couple of kills for himself. Gets the resets and looks for Tomzy. Will continue to chase this one out. Cognate, after a bad start to the fight, they don't seem to mind. They're going to continue to push on forwards. Nice high spot here. It's going to continue to contest there from Chipser. Will be able to get away with his life just about. Has Blizzard available. Does get shut down in the end. I thought he was going to come back and use that ultimate on the point just to deny this, but fantastic start for Cognate. They've managed to already get the A point. I like this position from Cognate. Basically says, there's no way you're coming and contesting. The second one of you pushes forward to contest, not only am I going to try and kill you, but also you're going to allow me to finish up charging my ultimate.
And what Cognate did well is they just managed to take down those tanks first. They knew that was who they needed to be focused on, so great work from those guys, really communicating and knowing what they needed to take down. Now, Chipset has this Blizzard, and it's when you use it. Do you use it when that nano boost comes up? Do you use it when you're worried about a Genji Dragon Blade, perhaps? It's going to be an interesting decision. Wacko also has Deadeye available, as now both teams are going to initiate here.
Here we go. Blizzard is going to be a huge factor in this fight, but nice back away from Cognate to avoid most of the CC. It's 1 for 1. Both Reinhardts have gone down in this fight right now. Wacko has that Deadeye, but not actually going to be able to use it as he gets shut down. Cognate on the backline. He's got his Dragon Blade. Sound Barrier will come through, but it's not enough to save these members. Jumps onto the backline, looking for the Xayah. Will run out of his ultimate, but they should be able to finish things off at this stage. The payload still in control of the attackers of Cognate.
Yeah, and Wacko as McCree, he still has that Deadeye, and I want to see him use it as soon as possible because I'm expecting a change from him. I'd like to see him move over to that Reaper, to be honest. I feel like Project are at their best when they do have Wacko on Reaper, but I mean, if he can get those flashbangs, it can be very important as McCree, especially if you want to take down something like a Genji. I mean, McCree can counter Genji extremely well, but there are a few ultimates ready for Cognate as they are pushing forward. But Paradox is down, so they need to be careful not to overextend here until they get him back on the board.
Here we go, though. Chips are going to be jumping in as the Graviton Surge lands and manages to get 2 with a single rocket. Both of the tanks of Cognate go down, and with that, so does their push. No way they can continue on that one. And, well, a simple defense coming out from Project right there. Just drop a Graviton Surge, and everybody collapses.
Yeah, Graviton Surge just seems to win every team fight. If you can get it off first, then it's going to help a lot. And now,
if you can get it on the key members as well.
Of course, and usually, well, if you can Graviton Surge right and suck in a whole team, and you just have a Genji or you have a McCree to use their ultimates and really take down the team, it can obviously be extremely influential in that fight. But now Cognate do have the Nano Boost ready, but unfortunately Cognate has gone down, so we have to float back over as Christopher is just going to be swinging wildly.
Absolutely. Look at that rocket barrage coming on through. Project win themselves yet another team fight on that one, and Cognate really nowhere to be seen on the scoreboard when it comes to that skirmish specifically. Cognate, they seem to have reached a bit of a roadblock here. Cognate just going to be trying to land some harass here, and I've got to say, props right now to Chipser on this Pharah. He's really been giving a massive impact to this game. He's putting out so much damage with those rockets, and here we go. Nano Boost comes on through. Cognate going to be using his Dragon Blade as well. They're looking for this fight, and they find 2 kills already in the back line. That Genji is going to do so much. Christopher suddenly finds himself alone and will get finished off. Chipser survived, but, well, there's not a lot he can do on this one. Will get finished off in the end. Paradox is going to poison him to death with one of those darts. And there we have it. Cognate reached the second checkpoint for themselves, and now they've still got a bit of time to work with if they want to match Project. And to be honest, 2 minutes ahead of their opponents right now. If they can just win this next team fight, they might be able to do it with a little bit of a better score.
Yeah, and you were saying how Chipser as Pharah was really important. That's why Laureate made the switch over to McCree just to deal with him. Wacko tries to get out Deadeye, doesn't get anyone, but can flashbang. So it will mean that Fusions is going to go down. Rocket Barrage is available for Chipser as well. So Project are going to push on. They're going to remit as much damage as possible.
Oh, what a shot.
Schmex and Laureate also go down as well. So Cognate are going to be forced back to their spawn. And now Project can make the most of this, and they will delay their kills ever so slightly just to make sure that Cognate's respawns are ever so stagnated so they're not grouped up to push forward quite so quickly.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff from Chipser there, like weaving in the concussion grenade so that he doesn't cancel an auto attack and things like that. Always good to watch. Christopher with the first kill of the fight though. Paradox going to be forced away, and well, there's no way out of this one for you, my friend. Chipser is on the case. Fusions does get one pin, but immediately gets shut down. And well, there we go. Project managed to win themselves another fight. These aren't even like intense fights or anything. As far as I can tell, Project are just cruising through the last couple.
Well, it seems like both teams at the moment, they're scared to use their ultimates because they don't want to lose a fight by using them. So it's kind of like, who dares use it first? I wouldn't be surprised if a Nano Boost is what initiates it all, and then you'll see all hell breaking loose when all these ultimates come out. There's the Graviton Surge as well. Chipser actually takes down Laureate, but Cognate will respond, taking him down, and now they will move in. Now everyone starts to get aggressive here.
Yeah, 2 for 2 so far, but it's going to be Wacko in trouble. The rest comes out just before Wacko goes down. A little bit bad for them, and here comes the Graviton Surge. Tomsy drops. Darius is on this front line, and he's going to be finished off by Cognate. This should be the fight going the way of Cognate. They've managed to take control, or have they actually? There's still a couple of players sticking around here. Laureate grabs himself yet another kill. Sev going to have to back away from this one, or go down himself. Looks like he is going to be going down in the end as he tries to stick around, but no chance there. Smex grabs himself a couple of kills. And well, Cognate, they've managed to grab control of this payload. They're pushing onto this final stretch. Similar scores right now, but it's going to be all about that final round. I think we're going to be going to extra time. That's definitely what it feels like in this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to be looking at Fusions really to use that Earth Shatter in effective time because we have seen him struggle with it previously as he goes flying off the map. High Noon is completely denied as Cognate is now going to push in and try and clear up everything. Tomsy goes down to him. Project are falling like flies, but Cognate are as well, and it's a 3-on-3 situation now. Darius does have res available though, and there it comes as the rest of his team are going to be brought back to life.
Yeah, Graviton Surge though does come on through. This is still not over just yet. That res is going to be absolutely huge though, and it means that Project take control. Graviton Surge actually used by Specs, but there was no one remaining to actually back him up. There were no DPS still alive, which means now they are down that massive ultimate. Laureate obviously still has that High Noon, but we're yet to see a super effective High Noon in this series. Graviton Surge comes on through. Nice Earth Shatter though. Denies the charge out of Christopher. There's a pin onto him and will not quite get finished off. He survives somehow. Still got a tiny bit of HP. And actually it's going to be turned around. Cognate finds one for himself. Has Dragon Blade. Needs to use it effectively but will get shut down. Glad he didn't actually use that in that situation. But 30 seconds waiting on the respawns right now. Cognate It's now or never. They've got a single team fight left.
They haven't. Project is surviving because of Darius. Darius is just flying around as Mercy, healing everything. He kept Christopher alive as Reinhardt. We see Chipser move over to Winston.
Christopher with the flank. Beautiful positioning from him. Gets an earth shatter across the entire enemy team. Not going to use his Dragon Blade, but to a little avail. Even going to use the res on this one just to keep the fight going. All they have to do is stop the congestion. Project, what a play at the end coming out from Christopher. Just waits in the wings. He's like, you know what? They're going to assume that we're just going to go for a normal team fight. I'll just play the flank. Like, that's not something you basically ever see out of a Reinhardt. It's such a rare occasion. But in that specific situation where there's no time left on the clock, it just stops the fight going anywhere near the payload, and it means that Project can take the victory.
But I want to shout out to Chips here, switching from that Pharah to the Winston, because it really counteracted Fusions as Reinhardt. He was able to just jump on that backline, and then Reinhardt couldn't do anything to defend them. Great work from Project in the end. Cognate put up a good fight, but Project's defense was just a little bit too strong, and it's going to be a sour taste in the mouth for Cognate, as like they said, Kings Row was one of their favourite maps, and especially after going 1-0 up, they were probably feeling confident, but
yeah,
a point on the board now for Project is exactly what they needed, and perhaps this is now where you're going to see that kind of shift in momentum into Project's favour, and we might see, well, them really coming out of their shell now and probably putting on a show for us.
I think the biggest thing to mention is, boys and girls, we have a series on our hands. This is not going to be one-sided either way, I think it's safe to say, as we see Cognate lose out here on Kings Road. They obviously won Lijiang Tower earlier, so if we get more control point maps later on, maybe that'll be in their favour. I want to have a quick look at the map veto once again. I've forgotten what the other maps in the best of 5 were. Let's bring that up. I think it was Dorado next, if I remember correctly.
I think
I'm
it was
not 100% sure. It was Nepal next, and then it was Dorado, and then Ilios. So, actually, 3 control point maps. Maybe that favours Cognate.
Well, I mean, after their display on Lijiang Tower, 100%, but you never know. Project chose Nepal, but they also chose Lijiang Tower, so if they're going to choose a control map and lose at it, you never know what Nepal is going to be like for these guys. I do feel like, in general, I would still, despite the first game and despite the control game type going in the way of those guys, I'd expect Project to do a little bit better now in this control game type. They seem to have warmed up a little bit. Obviously, on the other hand, Project they weren't playing earlier. They were just watching, so they were maybe a little bit cold going into that first series. So Cognate a little bit more warmed up, and I definitely felt that way in that first game. Like, they had a slight advantage.
Yeah, they definitely did, and Cognate, as you rightly said, had that kind of advantage going into the first game. They had that, obviously they were straight off the back of not just a game or anything, but a very intense best of 3 series that went the entire distance. And I think there's a big difference, there's a key difference right here, is if we're talking about players warming up and things, there's a big difference between actually playing a series with your team against another team, like scrimming, for example, or playing in a tournament, to just jumping in a quick match or jumping into a competitive match with your team, because the difference in coordination is going to be huge, and the difference in how much the game matters is going to be huge. So it's getting into that mindset, as well as just physically warming up. It's getting into the right kind of coordination with your team, just making sure you're all on the same page, making sure you all know what's going on with your composition.
And now, onto Nepal, I really want to see both of these teams utilising Reaper, because you do kind of get these points on Nepal which are kind of inside little houses, little village huts, and it can be very close quarters, and those shotguns from Reaper can make a huge difference, especially if well, most of the time you get Winstons coming into play, and obviously Roadhog. I've lost my mind completely. Reaper is a good counter to Winston, not Roadhog. But Roadhog is also a great counter to most
Well,
things.
I mean, Reaper's a pretty decent counter to Roadhog as well.
Yeah.
Reaper's just pretty good against tanks, as a general rule.
I mean,
anything
that's a big target as well.
Yeah.
It's always going to help, because the shotguns do so much damage, and
I think there's nothing more satisfying when you're playing Reaper than just jumping up. You know that Roadhog doesn't have his hook off cooldown, and you just jump at his face and like blast him, and you know the full thing's got a headshot. You know that's like half of his HP, and you're just like, beautiful.
it feels good, man. But it's great, especially, I mean, if you are going to get the Ana. We haven't really seen much Ana use from these guys during the control game types. Actually, I think Project tried it, but it didn't necessarily work, so maybe they'll go away from Ana here. Things do get a little bit hectic, so sometimes it is hard to get that healing, get those damage shots with Ana, but you never know. As the moment, Paradox is hovering over Ana and may full well choose her in this composition. Lawliet once again going with the Roadhog, and I mean, I know you are saying you're not too sure on Roadhog. I love Roadhog, and I personally think he's great for control. You just need someone, though, who is able to, like, just break away from the team, happy to flank a little bit, rather than feeling like they have to tank that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not against Roadhog by any means. Certainly not opposed to the pick. It's just definitely a situational pick. And when there's not a Reinhardt on the enemy team, it makes a whole lot more sense, because Reinhardt really can put a spanner in the works for him. But here we go. Fight already underway here as they push very deep. Nocni going to be on the Genji once again. I don't think we've seen him play anything else so far this series. Or in fact today. Chipser incredibly low, will get his deflect though, and actually somehow survives that one. Finally gets shut down by Smex and Cognate. They're the ones with priority right now. They take control to start things off. Sev will get finished off, and I like this staggered kills as well, stopping the congestion early on from Project.
And you are going to be looking towards your Genjis, towards your Tracers on Sanctum here, because there are those points on the map where you can kind of float round, you can jump round and get behind the opposition. But when you now have control of this point, it's getting your opposition into this choke point, into this first room here. It's so hard to escape it when the opposing team is just pushing up so aggressively and just firing damage upon you. As you now see, Nocni has his Dragon Blade available, but he doesn't even need to use it because he's doing so much damage with his team, and he is just going to do what he can to push forward here.
Absolutely. I like that from Nocni as well. Actually swipes onto a health pack so he can survive Sev while that shield is up, and then it means that once the shield is down, he can actually fight against that Zarya. Now, we are going to see contestants start to head over towards the point, but still definitely in favor of Cognate, or in terms of the points, but they are going to be losing out on this fight. Sev grabs 2 for himself. Wacko is just all up in that Winston's face as well. Fusions was the last one to drop. And now it's going to be Cognate. They're the ones who are on the attack. They're the ones that actually have to really answer for the aggression from Project.
And I like that Nocni did save his Dragon Blade, that he didn't use it just kind of willy-nilly. He's saying, look, I need to use it when we want to escape. As Graviton Surge has actually come down, Darius has his Transcendence ready, but he's just picking off everything as well. Roadhog tries to come behind, and this is what I said. Roadhog's great if you can get those hooks, but Loliot missed that hook, so he wasn't even able to influence that team fight whatsoever. He left his team so he could flank, but he left his team to die.
I've got to say, you know, Zenyatta is a support, like inherently is a support. However, in a situation like that, when you're half a mile away and you can just layer in those orbs, get your discords down as well, oh my god, the damage you can do, especially if you're landing headshots, is just disgusting. But here we go. All of the ultimates coming out from both teams right now. Both Dragon Blades going to be used, but it's going to be all about the Graviton Surge. There's a nice sound wave, but Wacko actually falls off of the map on that one. Speds knocks him off, and this is looking to go the way of Project so far. Wacko, the only one that goes down on their team. Speds doing his very best just to stay alive here, as actually they are going to be able to win out this one in the end. I thought Cognate were maybe going to be able to pull something back out of the bag there, but all in all, Loliot actually grabs Chipser as he goes a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, I was worried that Loliot was going to push in and get too aggressive himself, but fortunately he was able to catch Chipser off guard there, and now they can push in because Cognate know they've got the slight man advantage, because it would have taken some time for Chipser to get off that spawn. As you can see, that man advantage is counting as Nocni just pushes in, getting 2 kills. Loliot gets one as well. Christopher will respond onto Paradox. Important to take down Paradox as he is one of those support characters, but Chipser is just running a rampage on everything. Cognate should regain this point, which they do, and now they will set on this choke point once again. Nocni needs to be careful not to do what Chipser did earlier.
Absolutely. Sev has Graviton Surge available right now, so long as he waits for the rest of his team, Project definitely have good odds in this next upcoming fight. They have the ultimates available of Chipser and Sev. Here we go. Graviton Surge comes in. The blender comes on through. And look at the damage coming straight on out of that Genji. But they can't actually quite finish off enough people. 2 kills go their way. Chipser's incredibly low, though. Can they turn it into a one fight? It's going to be all about Loliot. The whole hog on top of the nano boost is not enough. Transcendence on top of everything else. Project surely win the point on this one. 97% for them. There's no contestation available. Winston jumps in, gets the overtime. They've managed to do it. Fusion's on the point, but I don't think it's going to last much longer. Nocni jumps in as well. He's actually got Dragon Blade on the go. Maybe they can make this happen. Nocni finds 2 for himself. Turn that into 3. Graviton Surge comes down. Christopher's locked up and will be finished off. But wait, no. Overtime's still ticking away. They've actually managed to win out this fight. Chipser, did he use his Dragon Blade there? I'm curious,
No, he didn't, but
how did they even win that one?
The Graviton Surge came in from 7, and he just was raining down hell.
I was so sure that Cognate had won that fight.
I mean, Cognate made it close just because that Dragon Blade came out, but unfortunately, because that Graviton Surge came in, there was just too much damage from Project and Cognate. They made a little bit of a meal of it, and they were able to come in fighting, but Project now looking more like the team that we saw last week, a team that are happy to take control. They were happy to take those team fights, and despite Cognate coming back occasionally, I can't help but feel you were right. That the Roadhog pick maybe let Cognate down a little bit because he wasn't really getting those hooks. And the Nano Boost went onto Roadhog, but he just got completely wiped out of the game. I think he got whacked away by Christopher as Winston, so he wasn't able to use that whole hog whatsoever, despite the crazy amount of damage that he had.
Absolutely well. Already the fight underway. Wacko on the front of this fight as that Reaper doing so much damage, and actually it's going to be Fusions that goes down as well. It's basically a full wipe. Christopher on the front line. Wacko going to be chiming in as well, and Cognate goes down. Well, that's how you start off a map, ladies and gentlemen. Project just walk over Cognate. Nowhere to be seen on the scoreboard. And Project, they get themselves a free cap.
What Project are doing incredibly well is Christopher just pushing forward with Chipser especially and taking down any backline that Cognate have. And Christopher is just jumping on everything that he sees. Anything that has as the slightest bit of damage, as you see again, he just jumped onto Nockney. He said, oh, a Genji, bam! Jumps on him. He's got his teammates to support him with the DPS, so great work from Team Project, as at the moment, Cognate don't really have too much of a response here.
No, they certainly don't. Lawlier will be able to get himself a health pack there. Was very close to going down, and he's actually looking to try and finish off these players, but it's so difficult to kill targets as a Tracer if there's a support nearby. You just don't have the consistent damage output. You can't stick around for long with such a low health bar. Sev on this front line has been doing miraculous things so far this game for Project, but here we go. Speds and Nockney start to answer. They're starting to actually fight back here. That's going to be a Primal Rage coming out from Christopher, though, just looking to deny entry from the enemy team. Cognate, they're the ones on the front foot, though. They're starting to capture this point, and if they can just finish off this cap, they will still be on the map. They will still be in this series, and they managed to grab themselves the point. 56 points down, but not the end of the world.
I love the patience from Project, though. There were several ultimates available for the players that were still alive, but they said, no, look, we're happy to just try and fight off as we can. We'll use these ultimates when we have a team fight, when we know it's probably going to guarantee us the win in this team fight, not just use them crazily and just die fighting, take down a couple players, as now we see the Graviton Surge come in.
Wacko has his Death Blossom available. I want to see how he chooses to use that one. Chipser gets the first kill of the fight, sorry, as Wacko finally drops that Death Blossom, looking for some kills, but doesn't actually find anyone in the end. Speds just about survives and uses that sound barrier to keep him and his team alive here. Fusions jumps onto the back line and manages to grab one, but Christopher's found two for himself. It's a battle of the Winstons as they're on the top of the scoreboard. Now Sev actually going to get a couple for himself, blasting them away with the laser. And Project, they're back in control once again. We see them just take control. When it's a fight with all of these ultimates, with all of the utility available, Project just seem on top of everything.
I mean, kudos to Cognate. They used their ultimates first and they tried to take the fight to Project, but unfortunately they perhaps weren't expecting the amount of the ultimates that were ready for Project. So Project responded with counters to everything that Cognate did. They were then able to push into the middle. Now we see Lawlier going down. He has that pulse bomb ready, but he's not able to pull it off. Several kills coming out of Project. Cognate going down like flies, but Nockney is going to respond with 2 kills, and now he's going to be able to push in with Fusions as well, and they're doing quite well here, taking this point.
They certainly are. Dragon Blade now available for Nockney, but he's so low on HP, looking for the duel anyway, nearly manages to take it against Chipser. This is incredibly close. Chipser finally wins out, but I've got to say, fair play to Nockney on that one. In that 1v1, starting on 19 HP, nearly just completely dunks Chipster. But that is going to be Cognate back in control again. 99 points though for Project. They cannot afford to lose a fight at this stage in the game. There's a Death Blossom coming out from Wacko, and this is going to be the fight for Project. Surely at this stage, they are going to be able to finish off the remaining players. There goes Smex. Transcendence comes on through as well. Lawlier can't quite escape. They need to contest now or never. Overtime continues to tick on through. Nockney using that Dragon Blade, but just gets shut down. Speds continuing to contest. They keep this overtime ticking over, but it's not going to be enough. And well, Project now get themselves 2 points here on Nepal. They are 1 away from taking the map.
Project are clearly targeting Nockney. Knockney has been the kind of game changer for Cognate, Cognate and Knockney, for Cognate in several situations, and Christopher especially, as Winston has said, okay, so Knockney's a problem for us. Let me just jump on him. I will deal that initial bit of damage. I will be a nuisance, make him focus on me. You just finish him off. You just make sure he dies, because if we can keep killing him first, not only do we have the man advantage, but we're also getting rid of one of their best players and one of their best damage dealers. And Knockney now looking like he might switch out to Reaper, as we are going to move outside. And Cognate now staring down at 2-0. Project only need to get this 1 point on the board, and they will be up 2-1 in this series after going 1-0 down, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Project certainly looking like the favourites once again. You know, after that first map, we were kind of saying, you know, this is going to be a close one. Surely Cognate have got something up their sleeves that nobody was expecting, but Project definitely look like they're back in control of this situation. Lauliet really struggling on this Tracer to have the effect that I think he was wanting to, but it's going to be 2 for 3 so far. Cognate definitely the ones that are struggling in this battle. And already the first point is going to be picked up right now by Team Project. They're doing so well when it just comes down to these first fights where no one has an ultimate and it is literally just pretty much aim battle.
Yeah, well, when there are no ultimates, Project are usually favoured, and I think that's just because of their targeting. I know Cognate were targeting well earlier and they're getting rid of those tanks, but Project just seem to be a little bit more well-oiled when it comes to who they want to take out first, and that you've got to be looking at your captain in that kind of situation, as he's going to be calling those shots and telling you to go for it.
Well, Paradox is going to be the first one to drop here, as well as Fusion. So Cognate, again, struggling to get onto this point. Ultimate starting to come online right now, as Chipser was the one really sweeping up. Darius managed to get a couple of kills for himself as well. Project, they're going to have a couple more ultimates to use in this next fight. Tomzy and Wacko, they've got the sound barrier in combination with that Death Blossom. And I've got to point out as well, Project not opting to use an Ana here. They don't have that nano boost available. Cognate, they will have though. Paradox, he's 20 points away from that one. If they can get that nano boosted Beyblade combo off, it will be massive for them. Knockney actually uses that Death Blossom to start things off, grabs 2 kills for himself. Wacko on the front line as we see Transcendence comes out from Darius. He's not looking to let this fight get away from them, and they're trading the kills straight on back. Fusions finds one, but Christopher does as well. And here we go, Lauliet is going to be the one trying to dish out this DPS as Tracer, trying to melt down the health bars of the tanks, but struggling to actually find their headshot, struggling to find the damage required as he's up against that enraged monkey. Christopher will finish him off in the end.
And I've got to say that is the difference. I mean, yeah, okay, so Paradox is Ana, but sometimes in these fast-paced maps, it's really hard as Ana, because you can get targeted, you can get flanked, and you don't have that time to set up, to go for that ultimate play, to go for that Beyblade effect. And it's playing into the hands of Project, because Project are just making this fast, making this quick, not giving Ana even the chance to get that ultimate built up.
Yeah, Graviton Surge does come on through here for Cognate, but they don't really do too much with it. They've managed to get themselves a couple of kills, though. Wacko will answer for one, but not enough to actually win out the fight. Chips goes down as well. Oh, well, it was then or the entire map going the way of Project for Cognate right there. They managed to get control, and not the greatest situation. Even though they've got control of the point right now, they don't have any ultimates available. Project have 2. They've got that blender combo, and they're on 99 points. They just need to get control for a singular second, and they will be able to take this map.
Yeah, this is the one situation where Ana is good on control, when you are defending, but unfortunately she doesn't have her ultimate ready. As you now see Project are going to push in. Graviton Surge comes in from Sev. He nearly gets hit off the map, but he's able to take down Paradox with his right click. The rest of his team are able to take down Smex as well. Knockney also going down, but Wacko is doing incredible things. He's got his Death Blossom if he wants to use it, but I don't think he will even need to. But there it comes, the Death Blossom comes out just to finish off anything that was left of Cognate. But it was very little, as they have all been dropping like flies, and now Cognate will be on that respawn. So Team Project with the man advantage should be able to win this team fight.
Yeah, they absolutely should. We see once again Cognate filtering onto the point, but it's too little too late unless they have something miraculous coming on out. Death Blossom available for Knockney. Maybe they can turn this into something. Getting a lot of damage down, grabs himself a few kills. There goes the Zarya as well. Pop goes the Weasel, and there goes the health bar. It's going to be Winston just leaps off into the mountains. He's not having any of it, doing his very best King Kong impression there. Cognate, they managed managed to win themselves another team fight. They're just 30 points away right now, and they've actually got themselves a shot here. They've got themselves back onto the map. Smex will have his ultimate for the next team fight, as well as Lawliet's Pulse Bomb. That could be huge.
Yeah, both Graviton Surges are probably going to drop in this team fight, as now Project are pushing forward, and actually Cognate and Smex going to go down, so Smex won't even be able to get off his Graviton Surge, and Project now will have the chance to take it. They did have the chance last time, but Cognate kept pushing forward. They kept coming off the spawn, but now this is going to be surely too much. Project should take this, which they do. They will now take Nepal 3-0 and go 2-1 up in this series. Cognate sure did make a game of it, but in the end, Project just too strong.
Absolutely. Well, we move further forward in this series as Sev flexing those biceps. Fantastic job from him here on this game, and this was just, I mean, this was the team fight where I was talking about the damage that you can do as that Zenyatta. It was obviously Sev on that front line. He was kind of the real meat shield for the team, but also he was the one with the Graviton Surge. He was the one that was dishing out the damage. The AoE with your right click when you get that Graviton is just terrifying. So able to melt out them, and I've got to say, a little bit sad about the ending of that game. I feel like that final team fight didn't represent what had been going on that final capture point.
It was one of those team fights where both teams had several ultimates that they were trying to work into the fight, but then one of those essential team members would go down, so that complete plan that they had, they were like, okay, you're going to use this ultimate and then we'll go in with this.
Yep.
The Graviton Surge didn't come out, and then it was just, everyone was like, ah, well, now we've kind of got nothing, and they just all started dropping. And it was unfortunate for Cognate. They did make a game of it, but now we're just one game away from Project possibly joining M&M at finals.
Absolutely, the favourites are definitely looking that way. Project are doing a fantastic job. You rightly said maybe they just needed a warm-up. Cognate took the first map, but so far Project have got 2 on the trot now. Can they make it a hat-trick and secure their place at Comic-Con? That's what we're going to be finding out. Cognate still with it all to play for. They're not out just yet. We're going to be moving on to Dorado now. So a payload map coming on through. Now we saw earlier on today on King's Row, it went the way of Project in the end. Let's see whether Cognate can change history on this one and take Dorado. We saw Cognate do a fantastic job on Dorado earlier on today. So let's see if they can replicate that success.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously not seen these guys face off against each other, so it's going to be great to see what they do in certain situations. But once again, because Cognate have played Dorado earlier, it is just down to whether Project have watched and whether they've learned and whether they said, look, this is the composition they mainly go for. These are the flanks they go for. These are the positions they try and take team fights. If they've learned from that and they can develop strategies around that very quickly, I mean, that's not an easy feat to do, to learn and develop strategies that quickly. But if anyone's going to do it, it's probably going to be Project, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were watching those games and they were writing down notes and making assumptions on what might happen now if they are to play Dorado.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see that eventuality occur at all. And I've got to say, I do not envy Cognate right now, because when you think about the task ahead of them, first of all, the 2-1 down in this series, that's going to be playing on their minds. You know, there's always that old saying of, like, you know, take the best of 5 as if it's just 5 best of 1s, right? You know, you're just on a normal game, you're starting afresh again, but it's always going to be at the back of your mind. You're always going to be thinking about that. And on top of that, they have to be thinking about the fact that even if they do manage to win these next 2 maps, they've got to do it all again. They go into a second best of 5 against Project. Project, coming from that winner's bracket, means that they have a winner's bracket advantage. If they do lose this best of 5, they get to kind of reset the scoreboard and give it a second shot. It's certainly going to be a tricky one for Cognate. They've got a mountain to climb, as you said earlier. We'll see whether they're going to be able to do it as we head on to Dorado. What are you expected to see out of the 2 teams when it comes to Dorado?
I mean, I'm expecting to see Project kind of doing more of what they've been doing throughout the past few games. They've been picking their fights and choosing their ultimates a lot better. They've been not just throwing away their ultimates. Sometimes with players and teams, when you're about to die, you kind of go out fighting and use an ultimate to try and take down 1 or 2 members, but that doesn't help you in some situations. Yep. The Project have been very intelligent about their kind of ultimate usage, and they've said, look, no, we're only going to use it for team fights. They also don't overuse their ultimates in team fights. Even when they have like 6 ultimates, they won't use all 6 of them. They'll just say, what are the 2 we need to use to win this team fight? Or what are we expecting from the other team? So what counters do we need to use? So you'll often only see those 2 or 3 ultimates coming out. And I think that's what Project ultimately is what winning their games, is their decisions on when to use those ultimates. I know people say, oh, it's just a game of ultimates. And yeah, it is. I mean, those ultimates are so powerful. Of course it's going to come down to who uses them better, and that is what Overwatch is sometimes. It's just getting in those team fights, using those ultimates effectively, and especially using them to counteract the others.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is, yes, to some extent it is a game of ultimates, as you would at it, but at the same time, it's about using them better than your opponent. It's not just a trade of, oh, we've got ults now, we win the fight. Oh, you've got ults now, you win the fight. It's never like that in competitive play, because it's about who can use them most effectively, who uses them to actually counter their opponents, and not just because it's available, because the Q button exists on the keyboard.
It's about getting those ultimates as well, right? The first team fight is very rarely going to involve ultimates. I know Anna does build up that ultimate very quickly, which probably is going to be nerfed soon.
Farah as well, if you can land the rockets.
Of course, yeah. So it's about picking those characters that you can kind of get that little bit of an advantage out early on, but to be honest, the majority of the time that first team fight is just a clean one, and in general, those clean fights have gone to Project as well, just because their targeting does seem to be a little bit better than Cognate. But I've said Cognate have been down and out before. I didn't expect them to win the last series, so they're now down here, and they have everything to prove. And, well, going off last series, I definitely think it is possible for them to do so.
There he was, President Portello, the protector of Mexico. He's going to be sitting pretty on his throne. We'll see whether Project are going to be able to get past the statue and continue on this payload route, or whether they're going to be halted before that. Cognate have always been doing a fantastic job on this first point of defense, and then pretty much just sitting back until they get to that final checkpoint. We'll see how this one's going to pan out on Dorado. It's going to be Wacko here and Cognate, both of them going with that McCree to start things off.
Yeah, I wonder whether Cognate have perhaps watched Project's game from last week and have noticed that they like to use Farah, because that is a very good counteraction, but at the moment Chipser is just in the sky and he's not getting taken down. Cognate doesn't seem to be able to land those shots currently. It just seems like he's being forced away, but eventually Loliet gets a really important kill. That means Darius has gone down as well. Seville now run in and run riot. Fusion's responsible for a kill on Wacko, and it's a 3-on-3 situation.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, nobody had an answer for Sev there. Just walks into the backline, and there's Chipser with a rocket barrage. Obliterates anyone remaining on the map. The courtyard well and truly belongs to Team Project at that point. It was such a nice bit of movement to start the fight from Cognate. They managed to avoid most of the damage from Chipser as they backed up down the alley. Azati, great stuff from them. Fantastic coordination. But then they couldn't consistently continue that during the fight. And we saw Sev, basically, because all of the tanks and things had gone down the alley, anyone who hadn't was just cleaned up immediately.
Yeah,
Sev. He could just run riot.
Really good zoning from Project. They knew exactly where they wanted to push, where they wanted that team fight. I know Cognate had to retreat, and Cognate did well in that situation. We saw Loliet get a couple of really important kills on Darius, but now nice work from Wacko, winning the McCree off as Earthshatter comes in, but Graviton Surge will as well. Fusions is actually nano boosted up, and he's a swing, and he gets an important kill. And Project might have to back off ever so slightly here.
Absolutely, it's going to be Chipser jumping on up again. Actually, the Resurrect going to be used as well as the Sound Barrier. Project are committing to this fight. Fusions on this front line, still very high on HP. All of those ultimates used and they don't actually find a kill. Now Smex is going to grab 2 for himself, and this is a fantastic defense from Cognate. Despite the ultimates, Project cannot seem to win this one out. Loliet grabs one, and this triple tank composition coming out from Cognate is doing absolute wonders. We're looking. We've failed to mention that we're actually looking at a nip comp coming out from Cognate here, and it's doing absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of hybrid nip comp, right? They've still got Cognate. They don't have the 3-tank 3 support that was ever so popular. You do now need that DPS, as we have found, but Project used a lot of resources in that attack, and they don't actually have any ultimates. Well, they do now. Christopher and Chipser have just got those, but there is stuff to respond from Cognate. Cognate do have sound barriers. Now we see players jumping in. Fusions not getting the first couple of kills, but Wacko also taking down Loliet. And it's a close one here. It just doesn't see. Every team fight seems to be quite messy.
Yeah, complete chaos. But so far, Cognate definitely seem to do better in those kind of team fights. When it's coordinated, when there's all of the ultimates or none of the ultimates, Project, they're in their element. They have that coordination. They know exactly what they're doing. However, if they allow it to get nitty-gritty, if they allow Cognate to drag them down to that kind of skirmish, Cognate seem to always take that situation. And now they're going to have 4 ultimates available for this next fight. I've got to say, Cognate seems to be struggling with his marksmanship so far this game. Really struggling to take Chipset out of the air on that far end. Nice couple of headshots though, just to prove me wrong. Christopher taken incredibly low right away, will be finished off in the end. Actually still surviving just about, but actually his shield comes out. Knockney's in trouble, finally finishes off that player. The rest of his team in the meantime was sweeping up Project. There's a res though, Graviton Surge comes out but doesn't land onto anyone. Seth finally gets picked up by that one, but as well, Tomsy going to use that sound barrier. It's one apiece right now, but look at this. Chips are just plowing those rockets into the group of Cognate players. Has his rocket barrage and will use that one, but gets shut down in the end by Knockney. It's going to be traded back and forth, but Cognate still with a man advantage. They'll finish off Sev here and will be able to stay in control.
I had wondered why Project pushed so aggressively in, why Christopher had charged like that, which you see Reinhardt's do, and it is always questionable if they do get taken down, but because Darius had that resurrect, Project were more than happy to try and take down as many members as they could, just get overly aggressive. The resurrect did come out, but in the end it wasn't enough. Cognate still finding themselves on top, and just 2 minutes left now for Project to push, and perhaps they might need to try something different. We do see Darius now switching over to Ana, and Wacko has his Death Blossom ready, so it's going to be a question of whether he's going to save that for Ana to have her Nano Boost, and that's when they're going to make their move, or whether he'll just use that Death Blossom naked, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, go the fight already going to kick off here. Fusions has that Earth Shatter available, but apparently they don't need it right now. Does actually use it as well as that Nano Boost. Well, that's the end of Project, I think it's safe to say. Chips gets finished off. A lot of ultimates used right there, though, from Cognate. Knockney will have that Deadeye available. Speds as well should get Sound Barrier fairly shortly. So, still going to be a close one this next fight, I feel. Wacko going to have that Death Blossom, but this next fight is going to be deciding a lot because we've only got a minute left on the clock.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a situation of whether he's going to use that Death Blossom or whether he's trying to wait for Darius to get that Nano Boost. But unfortunately, Cognate saw that Ana and they made sure Ana went down straight away. They don't want to allow her to get that charge. So we're now on board with Wacko, who does have that Death Blossom available, but he's still not using it. He's still reluctant to do so because he knows how important it can be if he does get that Nano Boost, as we just have a rooftop battle going on, but it's going in the favor of Cognate as 3 members go down of Project. Darius is still alive to support, to try and heal as much as possible, but Sev's going to charge in, get taken down as well, so only 30 seconds left, and I feel like it's only probably one team fight for Project, and Darius still doesn't have that Nano Boost available, and it's clearly what Project are waiting for, but it's getting ever so closer to it being there.
Absolutely. I think Project's suffering from altitude sickness on that one. The second they fight high up, they immediately just get wiped out. And here we go, so many ultimates available for Cognate, but the same on the side of Project. Here we go, Payload is going to be going down. Graviton Surge comes on out as Fusion's just trying to block any damage coming out from the likes of Project, but Knockney's the first one to go down. That's a very important kill coming through there, and Project are looking good on this one. Nano Boost onto Wacko, grabs himself 2 kills, make that a 3rd as well. We've got Project back in control of things. They're going to get this checkpoint. They're going to get a bit of extra time to work with, and they stay on the map.
And that is why they waited for that Nano Boost. And you said it correctly earlier, when these team fights are coordinated, it does usually go in the favor of Project. Cognate didn't quite have the response. The Earth Shatter did come out from Fusions to try and take Wacko out from his Nano Boosted Death Blossom, but unfortunately it didn't quite catch him. So now Project are able to push forward. They're given an extra minute, and if they can get that Nano Boost once again, it might just be enough. But Nano Boost is actually going to come down onto Fusions as he pushes in now, and Darius will be taken down, so he won't be able to charge down that ultimate anymore.
Absolutely. That's Nano Boost down, though. Darius was finished off in that fight, but even though there's not many kills, although I say that, Knockney's not going to allow that to be the case. Tomsy gets hooked as well and will be finished off by the likes of Lawlia. Well, I thought it was going to be just a singular kill. It was not. Cognate chased them down. Project whittled down one by one, and that delays this next fight by so long. Once again, we get to a point where there's just 30 seconds on the clock. Cognate so close to having multiple ultimates available here. Less so for Project. Let's see how this one is going to pan out. It's going to be an incredibly important fight for both of these teams.
Yeah, unfortunately, Project won't quite have enough time to wait for this Nano Boost onto Reaper, I feel. Chips is trying to push in. He does have Dragon Strike available, Dragon Blade, sorry, but the Graviton Surge will come down, and 3 members of Project go down, but so do Cognate. We have a 3v3 situation, just 2 left of Project now, but Knockney is going to respond, taking down Tomsy. Just Christopher and Darius left, but Christopher gets eliminated by Knockney. Overtime is going to tick over, and that is going to be as far as Project can get in this round.
Great defense coming out there from Cognate. I've got to say, when we first saw Chipser go in with the Dragon Blade, the Graviton Surge was down, I was so sure the Project had that fight in the bag. But Cognate, at the same time, while all of that's going on, they were in the backline of their opponents. It was a similar situation going on for them. So managed to even things up, and all in all, that uber charge, that nano boost coming out onto Lawlier with his whole hog just does so much team-wide damage.
Now, last week when we saw Project defending on King's Row, they were absolutely phenomenal. And Chipser, who played May, and it looks like he's going to play May again, really stalled those team fights, and I think they managed to stop their opposition from even reaching the first checkpoint. So expect a nice early heavy hold from Project that Cognate are going to have to try and break through. It's going to be whether Cognate have studied Project at all, and we'll be expecting any of this, but at the moment, Knockney going with that Pharah, but no Mercy to back him up, which you do usually see. There we go. Okay, so Knockney now switching over to the Genji. I was going to say, we haven't seen Knockney play anything else but Genji today, so I would have been extremely surprised.
Well, we have seen him on the McCree.
Okay, yeah, he did switch over to try and counteract Pharah, yeah, but at his best, Knockney has been on Genji, and he's the man you're going to be looking at to kind of get behind Project and get some important kills to help them win these team fights.
Certainly going to be a lot of weight on the shoulders of these Cognate players. If they can't beat Project's score right here, they are not going to Comic-Con. This is their final lifeline. They are 2-1 down in this series. Project, they're looking fantastic here today. They've already won 2 maps and they're looking to do so on Dorado. All they have to do is hold out for 4 minutes without allowing checkpoints. But that sounds a lot easier than it actually is.
Now, this is the meta that Project are using right now. The 5-1, as it were. You have your Reaper, you have your Zarya, you have your Reinhardt, you have your Lucia, and you have your Ana. The extra 1 is up to you, and Chips are going with May on the defense. And this is what's working incredibly well in the pro scene. Project clearly taking notes. It's going to be whether they can hold here on Dorado. And as you say, all they need to do is make sure Cognate don't reach that point, and then they'll be heading to Comic-Con to face off against M&M. And actually, Project taking a very defensive position out here in the courtyard.
Yeah, not going too far forward. They don't want to fight quite in that choke point. They want to be a little bit further back. Lawlier already trying to put some pressure out there on Tracer, going very far deep. Knockney already halfway to his ultimate, which is going to be absolutely huge moving on into these team fights. But here we go. Darius in a lot of trouble here. Does just about manage to survive on that one. That would have been disastrous. But Chipser finds the first kill of the fight. Knockney on the back line right here. Gets his Dragon Blade available, but he's so low on HP. Is he going to opt to use that one? Lawlier gets one with the Pulse Bomb as well. Project actually struggling a little bit here. I thought it was just going to be their fight straight off the bat, but here we go. Nano Boost comes out. Chipser going to counter that one along with his Sound Barrier. Here we go, though. Knockney going to use that Dragon Blade in the end, committing to this one. I wasn't sure if he was going to or just save it. Finds himself another kill and now dives even deeper for that one. Chipser going to be still contesting this payload, though, not allowing it to move forward. Actually used a Blizzard as well. Oh, what a headshot coming out from Chipser there. And there we have it. Project, they managed to keep the hold.
Now, during all that mess, Chipser actually got Nano Boost. We actually saw a Nano Boosted May. She was just running around, freezing everything in her sights, and actually, it worked pretty well, as Cognate couldn't respond. We did see the Dragon Blade come out of Knockney, which was their only response to go for, but Project are looking in good shape here. Darius now needs to build up that Nano Boost once again and get it ready for Wacko, because Wacko's Death Blossom is starting to grow here.
Yeah, Spencer's gone a little bit too deep, and that is the power of a May. That wall that just separates the first 2 that come in from the rest of the team. It's not going to be quite enough to just win out the fight already, though. Christopher has found a couple for himself. Here comes the Angry Monkey, though. It's going to be Fusions charging on forwards, but Wacko is here with the shotguns, trying to finish off Fusions, and will be able to do so in the end. The payload's still going to be halted in its tracks, and a fantastic defense coming out from Project. And now, Project, they've got so many ultimates available with the Blizzard as well. That's so influential on payload.
Yeah, especially because we're going to see the Nano Boost coming out of Cognate now, and expect Chipser to drop that Blizzard just to try and freeze anyone that does charge at them. Boosted up, but great shots once again out of Chipser, making sure that Paradox goes down, because that means Nano Boost won't come into effect. And immediately, because of that, Project push in. They want to finish this off. They say, we're not going to let them even get a sniff of this payload.
Absolutely, pushing it back under the bridge at this stage. And honestly, you got to start to ask the question, do they just retreat to that original defensive position? Like, I could imagine if if you were in solo queue, you persuade your team to just defend in the courtyard instead of going right to the doors, right? And then at this point, when the payload's been wheeling its way back again, it would be so easy to just follow that back out towards the spawn, but rightly here from Project, they decide to stay in the courtyard. 6 ultimates available, but here comes Cognate trying to do something, trying to make things happen for his team. The sound barrier on top of everything else. All of the ultimates going to be used, and it's Fusions and Smeks that go down first. The tanks have been eliminated for Cognate. Sev doing a lot of work for his team, but all in all, that is going to be just about a wipe. The supports remain, but they can't do a lot on their own, and Team Project are going to be able to take out yet another fight. The payload is just about in the spawn once again.
Everything was used there from Project. There is still Primal Rage available for Fusion, so expect him to push in and get aggressive. Just try and hit away Project from the payload so they can get as much distance as possible. They only have 14 seconds left to just get to this first checkpoint, let alone to how far Project got. And Chipser is just being an absolute annoyance now, as we do see them charging. Cognate trying to do as much damage as possible, taking down Darius, but Chipser just being crazy with May, right-clicking everything that he sees.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing so well with those headshots. We've seen him do so many and lands one immediately onto Smeks as soon as I say it. Grabs himself another kill. Punch to the kidney will finish it off. The Blizzard as well, just slowing the advance coming out from Cognate. They've managed to push it to overtime, but this is looking like Project might just have the map in the bag. Sound barrier comes out. If Cognate can't win the fight, then they are not going to Comic-Con. Here comes Cognate trying to slice through the enemy team, but doesn't have his ultimate available. Sev grabs himself a kill. Project are starting to bully back the waves of Cognate players. Nano boost onto the Lucio there. Sped's gonna have his sound barrier available, but it's only up to 3 people. Lawlia is gonna get stuck. Smeks pinned against the wall. Christopher just swinging the hammer and smashing it onto the heads of Cognate players. Sev grabs 2. There's the team wipe. And that is going to be the map and the series going the way of Project. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our second Comic-Con team confirmed.
And boy, did they deserve it. Project, as I said, phenomenal defending on Dorado. A real masterclass. If you want to know how to defend on that map, just watch that VOD back. I know I will. I'll watch it back several times, and I'm going to try and replicate what Chipser did, because he, as May, really made the difference. Incredible stuff from him, incredible stuff from Project, and what a feeling for them. They will be going to Comic-Con to face off against M&M, and condolences to Cognate. They put up a good fight. They made it a closer series than possibly what we were expecting, what a lot of people at home were expecting, but they are not going to be making it to the finals. But Project, good job, guys.
Absolutely, Project. They were the favourite of the group, and they've absolutely proved it there. The final score is 3-1 to Project over Cognate. Cognate, they came in swinging. They won that first map, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. They did a fantastic job